Welcome to another episode of Stezworld. I'm your host Steven, and on today's video we're actually going to talk about countries that they say they are open and allowing tourists to come in, but there are restrictions. Let's learn which countries are allowing and which countries are having those restrictions. Please enjoy this video. So it has been over 2 years that we are been in the pandemic, and many countries are still closed. Some countries are recently opening up for tourist travel. I know it's very late into the game for these countries, and some countries they pretty much don't want foreigners in there. There is a catch, to be honest. Some countries that are opening up require certain things, and other countries doesn't even care and welcomes everybody. So let's say, for example, Mexico and the Dominican Republic, right on top of my head, you are allowed to travel into their country as a tourist without no vaccinations, no PCR tests. Maybe if you go to that country, there's probably some restrictions. Certain people from certain countries are not allowed to enter. But most of all, as my audience are mostly from the United States and Europe, chances are you are allowed to visit without no vaccination, no PCR test to Mexico and the Dominican Republic. There's other countries that are open to travel into their country even though you are fully vaccinated, but you actually need a booster shot. For example, let's go to, I'm actually here reading from Business Traveler. Here, reading from Business Traveler, let's use for example the country of Austria. It says travelers must have received the second dose of the vaccine no more than 270 days before entering into the country, or receive a booster shot no more than 270 days ago to qualify as fully vaccinated. Once Austria 2-dose vaccination are only valid for 180 days, but the booster is valid for 270. Well, you can see this saying if you, for example, in the United States, you can still consider fully vaccinated if you have the first 2 doses of the Moderna, or the first 2 doses of Pfizer, or maybe 1 dose of the Johnson & Johnson. But according to Austria, full set of inoculation was over 270 days ago. You're technically are not vaccinated, so you need to receive a booster shot. And if you could read here that it says the booster shot cannot be more than 270 days. If you pass over that, you need to get another booster shot if you qualify. For example, here in the United States, it is very difficult to get a 4th booster shot unless if you belong to a certain group of people. If you are certain of age, mostly the really old elderly people, and certain group of people that has some health issue that qualify to have the 4th booster shot. So apparently if you do not qualify to have the 4th shot, technically you cannot go to Austria, which kind of sucks in a way, because that means you're gonna have to be starting to get boosted every 270 days. And it's even worse for a person from a country where they're still having trouble vaccinate the 2nd dose, or they're not even giving out the 3rd dose unless if you belong to a certain group. If you are none of those and cannot get the 3rd dose, chances are you're not be able to travel to Europe. In order to come to the United States, if you have the first 2 shots of the Moderna, or the Pfizer, or the 1-shot Johnson & Johnson, even over 270 days ago, you are still allowed to come to the United States. And reading through the list of certain countries, it's mostly these countries from Europe, such as Belgium, Bulgaria, Croatia, Czech Republic, Estonia, France. I mean, if you don't have the booster shot, you are not allowed to enter the country. It's kind of sad in a way. I mean, yes, it's their own country. They could do whatever the heck they want. If it's a country that depends a lot on tourism, especially international tourism, I think just having the first 2 shot and doing a COVID test is alright. That is the reason why many airlines here in the United States are hustling, or they're pushing for the local government or the federal government to open up or to eliminate the restrictions in order to come to the United States, because a lot of travelers want to come to the United States, but either they're not vaccinated or they don't want to spend money on taking a COVID test. Airlines, they're looking that they're losing potential revenues from foreigners coming into the United States. Also, many Americans that doesn't want to deal with taking the COVID test, they don't want to travel international, so just to have the hassle to pay just to take a test to come back to the United States. And it is annoying when I travel, me searching for a place that offer the shot, I mean not offer the shots, but offer the COVID test. It has been a struggle. Like for example, when I went to Brazil, trying to search a lab where they offered the test, it was a challenge. And especially when I went, they were so surprised. This was before they started allowing Brazilians to come to the United States. They were surprised of foreigners coming to their laboratory just to take a COVID test. They were asking, are you sure you need a COVID test? Don't you need this in order to travel to the United States? And I said, yes. I mean, I travel a lot internationally. Yes, I know what I'm doing. And they were like skeptical, but it's okay. It's okay. I know. And plus, traveling right now is expensive. I mean, with this inflation, especially during the summer season, because this has been one of the most expensive summer travel season I've seen so far. Even though some countries I cannot come up on top of my head, I'm gonna have to do some research. Even if you have the COVID test, you're fully vaccinated, even with your boosters, and still, as soon as you reach that country, you gotta take another test, and you may gonna have to self-quarantine until either the negative test comes back at that country. So you're wasting a lot of money, to be honest. Even if you have to pay, chances are, if you're a foreigner, I'm guessing, write down in the comments down below if you're from these countries that even though you have to retake a test as soon as you enter, if foreigners, they have to pay an additional money to take the test. Luckily here in the United States, at the time of this recording, May 2022, it's still free. I think it's not going to be free forever. Once it does not become free to take the COVID test in order to reach certain countries, or mostly the majority of the countries, is going to cost a lot of money, especially if you are a family of 4. Because, for example, coming to the United States, all travelers, non-residents, and pretty much tourists that's coming to visit the United States, they have to take the COVID test 24 hours before the flight, and they gotta be fully vaccinated. Fully vaccinated does not require a booster in order to come to the United States. It costs money in other countries, because a lot of the other countries, I'm not gonna say 100%, but most of the countries I've been outside of the United States, you have to pay for it. It's not free, not even for the local citizens. But another good place to check for these restrictions, but I'm not gonna say it's 100% accurate, is in Kayak. Kayak has, if you go to the website, they have a travel restriction page that you're going to see right now, where you see where you could travel as a United States citizen. There's a list as well. Like for example, right now I'm showing you where if you're fully vaccinated, these are the places where you could travel. The darker green is pretty much you're open, you're allowed to travel. But just remember, it may say fully vaccinated, but for most of the Americans, fully vaccinated is just the first 2 doses. Let's say the Moderna and the Pfizer. Like the example that I just showed you about Austria, you need to have the booster shot, unless if your first 2 shots were under the 270 days. For example, as of course Brazil, you're only allowed to enter Brazil if you're fully vaccinated. If you're not fully vaccinated, you're pretty much out of luck. Same thing with Canada, Australia. There's some restriction, as you can see here in Japan as well. Let's see right here what it says. An emergency precaution measure. So a U.S. citizen must present a negative RT-PCR test taken within 72 hours before departing to Japan. But it doesn't talk about, for example here, it doesn't talk about that you need a third doses, as other websites says that you need a third dose in order to enter Japan if you're going as a tourist. There's a few countries, if you could see here, if you're not fully vaccinated, you're allowed to enter the country. Look at Colombia, you're allowed to, but you need to take a test in order to enter. A negative COVID test, then you're good to go. But not too many countries allow American citizen if you're not fully vaccinated. I mean, it might change by the time you watch this video. You gotta recheck the website, recheck the airline's website, because this thing changes every week. Double check if you actually need a booster shot. Overall, it seems like these countries say they're open, but technically they still a lot of restrictions. I just want to say thank you for watching this video. Please give it a like, thumbs up, share, and please write a comment, anything you want to talk about this topic down in the comment down below. Once again, I want to say thank you, and until next time, safe travels.